Alright, hey, what's up? So, as you see, this is a level 5 warrior now in Elwyn Forest, and, funny story, I got all the way through the episode and realized I had not recorded a single thing that I had just said. So that's beautiful. So, I guess, keeping with the current thing, we're going to go with a horde character again. Cause yeah, that's how we roll. I want to save these three for last because they're more episodic, like starting zones. So I guess we'll go with this guy next. Well, that sucked. So I went through basically my entire history of how I got into WoW, and all that, and now it's not there. So, hey, what's up? We gonna play some WoW. Basically, I was saying that, dude, you did this while I was recording before, man. I don't care. Go away, stupid huntsman. But basically, how it all began, a little story for you, is I was playing hockey, as most young children my age did in my area of the country. And at that point, I was playing a lot of RuneScape with my buddy from school, and this kid I played hockey with was like, "Hey man, you like RuneScape? Maybe you'd like WoW." And I was like, "WoW? What's WoW?" He was like, "Oh man, it's this MMO. It's super cool. You should come over, and I'll show it to you, and maybe we could play it together and be so cool." And I was like, "Oh yeah, man, that'd be awesome." So I went over, and I remember this is literally the first and only time I ever went to his house, which is kind of sad, but you know, it's true. But I vividly remember he was in the old Thousand Needles, and he was just in this spot, and he was trying to get past this rare spawn and kill this rare spawn so he could do this quest, which was, I mean, it made perfect sense to me back then, but now that I know, you didn't need to kill the rare spawn to do the quest, so I don't know what he was doing. And I just remember laughing at him over and over and over again because he just was dying over and over and over again to this little rare spawn, and he couldn't kill it. And then we sat there and watched the Leroy Jenkins video like over and over and over again. And I was just laughing and laughing. I was like, "Man, I need to play this game." And he was like, "Oh man, you should take this 7-day free trial," or I think it was 7, maybe it was 14, but whatever it was, this free trial to it. And I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta pay for this?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Damn, that's probably not gonna happen, but I'll try." So I went home and I told my parents, I was like, "Man, he showed me this game, it was super cool." And I was like, "But it costs money." And they were like, "No." And I was like, "Damn it, but I got this free trial." And I went onto the website and I downloaded the game client off the website, and I signed up for the free trial. And I just remember, I think I was in like 6th or 7th grade, something like that. And I remember, since the internet was so bad, it took 3 whole days to download this game. And every single day I was like, "Oh man, it's gonna be one day closer, and then I have one more day, and I can play WoW, and it's gonna be great. And I'm gonna have so much fun." And then the 3 days were up, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can finally play. This is the best thing ever." And I went and I made a Tauren hunter because I figured a cow being a hunter would be a weird like combination. And I also watched some YouTube video, and this Tauren hunter was running a dungeon with this group of people, and he had this golden bow. He looked fucking sweet, so I wanted to be like him. And I just remember playing for like 8 hours straight overnight. And I don't need to see this again. Vol'jin, I've seen it before. If you want to see it, I'm sorry for you, but I'm doing this. You know what? While I'm talking, you can read it. But I played for like 8 hours straight, and in those 8 hours, I literally only got enough levels to start to learn taming. And back in the day, the way it worked was you learned taming by doing a quest line, and this goddamn swoop, them little vulture things, it would use the interrupt spell every single time I was trying to tame it, and I couldn't figure out how to do it, so I literally rage quit, and I made a gnome warrior, and just rolled around a gnome warrior. And over the course of those days, I met like 5 or 6 really cool people, and I made like 500 different characters, and I was running around getting to like level 8, level 9, level 7, level 10, and I was having so much fun, and I was like, man, I gotta play this game. But then I was like, oh shit, I don't have any money, I can't play this game. So fast forward into high school, and Burning Crusade was out, and my buddy was like, oh man, I play WoW, and I was like, really? How do you afford it? And he was like, oh, I play on a private server. And I was like, private server? What the hell's that? And he was like, oh man, it's basically just a server run by some guy, and you can play for free. And I was like, oh man, that sounds shady, but I'm sold because I want to play for free. Alright, that's pretty much over. And so I downloaded the private server, and I went and played, and I made a Draenei warrior, and I cruised through that, and it was the best. I got all the way up to level 70. They like boosted up how fast you leveled, so you leveled up super fast. You just had to basically just grind mobs, and you just hit level 70. And it got to the point where I was literally leveling up every single character. And I made a hunter by accident, actually, but it turned out to be a great idea. I made a hunter on a different account, and it turns out that every single boss in the server, to save, I'm assuming to save like room, he unscripted all the bosses and just made them do more damage and have more health. So if you're a hunter, you could just turn on Aspect of the Cheetah and run around in circles and cast Concussive Shot, and it couldn't catch up with you, so you just ran in circles and killed the boss. So I would literally log on to both accounts at once, and I would just run around in circles on my hunter while in a party with another character on my other account, and I would just gear up all of my characters with this hunter by running around in circles and killing bosses, and it was the best thing in the world. And then if you fast forward through Wrath of the Lich King, because I didn't play it much, not that I didn't like the story, I wasn't really like into it. I didn't really get attached to it the same way as I got attached to Burning Crusade, because I did read the whole WoW story that they had listed on their website way back in the day. And I definitely enjoyed the Illidan story more than I enjoyed the Arthas story. And I just remember just Illidan more, so, you know, hate me if you want, but I'm an Illidan guy. And so, Wrath I didn't play much, but Cataclysm I was like, oh shit, Deathwing's a badass. I gotta go kill Deathwing. So I made a character, and I made a character on the live servers. I didn't go to a private server because at that time I had money and they had closed down the private server, so I was like, I gotta play this. I don't care how much it costs. I'm buying it. I'm playing it. So I did. And I got up to 85 on a Tauren warrior, and I just ran around trying to do PvP and being bad at it, trying to do dungeons and being bad at it. And I couldn't figure out why it was so bad, when really it was just my gear was really bad. So I was really bad. But the problem was I couldn't figure out how to get better gear. I was doing dungeons and everything, but I was never really getting much better gear. So I just got frustrated and stopped playing. But Mist of Pandaria was where all of it changed. Because I had stopped playing because of Cataclysm, and Mist of Pandaria came out, whatever year Mist of Pandaria came out, and I was just like, oh shit, these pandas look sweet. Everybody hated on the pandas, but I thought they looked freaking sweet. I'm gonna go play, I'm gonna be a monk, it's gonna be great. So I bought the game on launch day, I had it all pre-downloaded and ready to go, and I made a panda monk, and I leveled that thing up as fast as I could. And I went and I got to level 90, and I was cruising around. Oh man, it's this fucking thing. Where is he? Oh, since I have a mount, this is super easy. But I was cruising around, and I hit level 90, and I got okay gear, and I remember teaming up with this raid group, and I was sitting there, and I wasn't really healing that well. And we're sitting there, and we don't quite kill the boss, and the raid leader's like, hey man, why are you wearing cloth? And I was like, oh, because I didn't have any leather stuff that was better than this cloth stuff. And he was like, yeah, but you're missing out on your like armor mastery. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that was the thing. So he gave me some leather armor, and we still didn't kill the boss. It was, what's that boss called? Why am I hitting? Oh shit, I can't do the dungeon journal. It was the Quillen boss in the first raid, and we couldn't get past it. But this was literally like, this was like the update where the raid opened. So I guess unless you were actually a raiding guild, you weren't really getting past things like that. But in Mist of Pandaria, I made every single class except for a priest, a mage, and a death knight. And I got every single one up to 90, and I geared up a decent amount of them to a decent raiding gear level, and I had an absurd amount of fun. I played way too much of it. And I mean, I was mount grinding, I was armor grinding, I was achievement hunting, I was playing every little bit of the game I could. And I had so much goddamn fun that from then on out, I was like, I'm just a WoW guy. I don't really think I'd quit the game unless, like, I don't even think I'd quit the game if it came down to a story thing, because there's no real part of the story where I think they could like destroy it for me. It would have to be a gameplay thing, and the gameplay would just have to become not very fun. But they would literally have to change up all of how they roll, and I don't think they do that. So I'd like to think I'm pretty much a WoW guy for good. I mean, I might come and go every now and again, and I might not play all the time, but you can bet your bottom dollar that I'll pretty much always come back for more, because I think this game's pretty damn bomb. Oh, app updates. Oh man, I gotta get more of these fetish things. Oh man. Poor Zuni. His name's Zuni, right? Yeah. Oh, poor Zuni. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you will soon. That reminds me of the last time I made a troll druid through here. Me and this random ass person. I think this is why I like the game the most. It was me and just this random ass, I think this random ass girl that I ended up being friends on Facebook with. We literally were sitting there playing this, and we were going through, and general chat, which apparently no one uses because it hasn't popped up. We were sitting there just chit-chatting about how sad the storyline of the Troll Starting Zone is, which I guess I won't spoil it, but you'll see pretty soon what I mean. And we made a guild around it. We freaking invited anyone we could, and we just leveled up and just basically level up, shoot the shit, and just had a blast. And I think that part is the part that makes the game the best. Not the gameplay, not the story, but just like the little things that the community's done. And I think that's why there might not ever be a game quite like it, because the community is really what made this game. And I don't know if there's going to be another game for me that's going to create that same level of community and have the same level of stories, because now any story I get from any MMO is going to just remind me of the time I did basically the same thing in WoW. And I'm going to be like, oh man, the fond memories. But this is Zarja. I think I've run every single starting zone in this game at least 10-15 times. The dwarf one much more than any other one. I ran the old one multiple times. I ran the new one multiple times. I've played every single class and every single class combination, and I've always tried to find a main, but I've never... Oh man, poor guy. Don't do it, man. Oh. Well, we didn't get the full story. But, yeah. She tries to stop him from stamping out the fires. And, she kills him. And, yeah. And, Vol'jin doesn't really care that much. So, yeah, that was that. And, oh, no, that brings you right to the shore. That ain't no good. But yeah, WoW's great, and it comes with so many fond memories. I just remember so much of, in the private server, trying to run these raids and just wiping so many times, and finally killing stuff and figuring out, because I'm an absolute dumbass, figuring out that as a warrior, if you use Mocking Blow, it actually taunts. And I didn't know that, and we were halfway through the boss, and I used Mocking Blow, and he one-shot me and then killed like 3 other people in the raid. Sorry. And then I literally sat there because, of course, he boosted his health up. But he wasn't scripted, and it was that, it was in Zulaman, and it was that frickin' tiger boss, whatever the tiger boss was. And I used Mocking Blow, and literally the fight took like a half hour for them to down it, because the healers could keep everyone alive. But we didn't have enough DPS left because I was an asshole and I used Mocking Blow. So half an hour later of just sitting there waiting to respawn, and then accidentally hitting release corpse, and then you couldn't enter because you were in the middle of a fight. So I was just sitting there. I couldn't even watch the fight. So it was just a half hour of just sitting there in chat asking them how close the boss was to being dead. And they finally killed it, and they didn't give me any loot, of course, because I had wiped half the raid group. But it was just so cool. That was the only time I downed that boss ever. But yeah, wow, it was great. And this episode's basically over. I'm just gonna cruise in my motorcycle over to, I don't even remember what this place is called. Sen'jin Village, yeah. Named after Vol'jin's dad, Sen'jin, who was killed by a big old Murloc. But yeah, basically my idea for this little episodic thing we're doing here is to level up all of the characters, obviously, and I'm gonna try to have either a expansion, like a wipe every expansion. So, that means, oh, where is it? That of course means that, classic, I'll cut out a couple. Burning Crusade, I'll cut out a couple. Lich King, I'll cut out a couple. Cat, I'll cut up a couple. Panda, I'll cut out a couple. Drainer, I'll cut out a couple. But I'm thinking that maybe I won't cut anybody out in Classic, because getting everybody to 70 is a lot cooler than getting everybody to 60. But also, I really want to get the Lore Master achievement. And I've already done all of Eastern Kingdoms. I need to do Kalimdor, I need to do Outland, I've gotten Hellfire, I need to do Northrend, I've gotten a few in Cata, I've gotten all but one in Pandaland, I've done just the Frostfire and Draenor, and I've done all but one, the Suramar one, in Legion. So my idea is to do all of this over the course of this entire little series we're gonna have rolling, so that at the end I can have my Lore Master colors, and it's not really super cool, but I'll have a tabard, and a title, so that'll be a thing. So why don't you come join me with that, and we'll have a good time. Y'all having a good time? I'm having a good time. So I guess since we're all having a good time, I'm gonna end this, and we can have a good time some other time. You know what I mean? Time. Alright, bye friends.